What are you hearing from those who have not been on television discussing this in the media openly?
Well, Dana, I would put it this way. This is a very unified community at this time. It's interesting that I would say we received, I don't know how many, hundreds of emails, several hundreds, phone calls, messages coming in, people walking in the front lobby of our newspaper. And I would say it probably 99 to 1 is the kind of response we're getting. You know, it's interesting. There's been a little shift in the city government over the last few days. And if you want to talk about that, we can get into it. But I can tell you, their position's a little different. I'm not an elected official.
Right.
I don't have the same protocols to consider. But what we had hoped early on, Dana, was that a not so subtle message sent to the president might just avert this whole controversy altogether. And I think basically, people have said, well, you need to respect the presidency. You need to respect the office. But I think that's a two-way street. I think the president needs to respect the people of this community and their right to mourn and to begin binding these horrific wounds that have struck this community.
I have heard before in other such instances when you've had tragedies like this, families have said it's really, it's difficult. In previous interviews, they have said, it's kind of difficult to do that mourning process you're talking about when, and I can imagine this is going to be Roseburg on Friday. It turns into a media haven. You're going to have news trucks there. You're going to have reporters walking the streets. And it's a little difficult to, achieve that unity when you have all of that descend on your town, and that comes with the presidential visit. Do you think that this is, or do you think residents believe that this is maybe something the president could have done privately? Or what is the purpose of him making it so public?
Well, in fairness, I believe that the White House official statement is that this is a private meeting. There are no public events scheduled for this visit. He said that he wants to come and speak to the families. But what's interesting is the families don't seem very interested in speaking with him. And I think, the question came up, is it appropriate if he's just coming here to share their grief and to console them? I think there's a couple of things, Dana, that we need to ask if that's the case. One of them is, what's your connection to the community? Yes, you came here on a campaign stop in 2008. You've never been here since. You've never reached out to this community who's been reeling under the effects of this administration and previous administration's timber policies, which have really impacted our economy. But all of a sudden, you have this outpouring of compassion. And I think it's a little bit, maybe a little more than a little bit disingenuous on the part of the president. And I think a callous disregard for the people that live here.
The mayor of Roseburg and I believe one of the city council members appeared on Megyn Kelly's show, Kelly File, yesterday evening. I'm sure you saw that. And they were responding to your reports and what you have been hearing from local residents. And I could tell they were trying to walk a very tight line. They were trying to, as you were saying, they're elected officials. So you have to have that canned elected official response. But one of their responses in particular, they were saying, well, David Jaques or this particular newspaper publisher, he's not representative of our community. What does that mean, and what do you say in response to that?
Well, I would tell you this. Over the last just few hours, last 24 hours, we've received maybe 50 to 60 brand new subscribers to our newspaper. During that same period of time, we've had lost 0 subscribers or advertisers. I would say that that is kind of a statement out of the old guard party establishment in our city and in our county. And the city government, I might add too, Dana, really is out of touch quite often with the mainstream people of this community. They're out of touch in the way that they conduct their projects and public works projects. They've got a huge one underway right now, which has totally demolished downtown Roseburg. But I think that statement is born, first of all, I did not ever in any interview, and all the tapes are easy to rewind, suggest that I'm speaking on behalf of or with the authority of the rest of the community. But what I did say is I think I'm speaking alongside this community. And Dana, based on the reaction that we received, I don't think there's any question. I think perhaps the mayor might need to ask himself if he's in lockstep with his constituency, and that's something for him to worry about, not for me.